All right, there we go. So recording is started, and this is the November 17th, 2022 Crossplane community meeting. The agenda doc is wide open for folks to be adding suggestions and topics that they want to cover today. I will drop a link to the agenda doc into the Zoom chat right now, so you have direct access to it. And folks can continue adding either adding yourself as an attendee, adding topics that you want to cover, all that sort of stuff. All right, so let's hop on into the milestone checkup. So I think the last patch we did was 1.10.1, and that was right before, I think, the last community meeting. So there have not been any patch releases or major releases for core Crossplane since last time we met. We are currently working towards the v1.11 milestone, which will be after the holidays and in January. So our release date is staying consistent there of January 17th. That's when we're planning on getting that release out. Lots of exciting things going on in this release here as well. So let's jump into the releases board, and we'll talk about some of the investments going on there and get a couple of updates as well. Let me bring the participants list up so I can see who's here and can get up some updates from as well. All right. So I think let's just talk about some of the high priority, high demand things. So Max and Yuri has been reviewing Max's contribution for supporting patching from common data sources, the whole environment config thing. There's been some good rounds of feedback there, and we're kind of converging on that. The design and experience was already approved, so the implementation is what's being figured out now. And I do have high confidence that that will be included in 1.11 since it's got, maintainers reviewing it and Max contributing to it. So I do feel good about that one. I believe the design doc for custom compositions was just approved and merged yesterday. So Hassan and Nick had been driving that with a lot of discussion and investigation in terms of figuring out what the first, alpha level initial experience around custom compositions is going to be. So do check that out, because I believe it's merged into the main branch now. If you want to see what we're thinking about for the initial implementation of custom compositions, which will probably require some iteration, I think, on the experience, as well as maybe some edge cases and such. So there will definitely be room for feedback in that, and I'm very excited to have that included in 1.11 there. Composition revisions continue to mature, and I think that's getting pretty close to wrapped up now. Ezgi, you are on the call. Do you want to give us an update on the composition revisions work?
Sure, Jared. Yeah, we have one open PR right now. And once it's merged, I will open the final technical PR for enabling the feature by default and bumping the version to v1 beta 1. And the current open PR is waiting for an approval. It already got a couple of reviews, and I addressed them today. So I assume we are going to merge it today or tomorrow, maybe.
Awesome. So yeah, so that work is definitely seems to be wrapping up, and with what we're planning on doing for 1.11. Is there will there be more investments in 1.11, Ezgi, you think, or that's the set that we're doing for 1.11? It'll be marked at beta, it'll be stable, and that scope is well known.
The scope is well known right now. We have a couple of issues left outside of this issue, but I don't know about the deadlines and timeline about it.
Cool. Sounds good to me. All right. I have this particular issue because it's a bit of a concern for me. I have a specific discussion point on this later on in the agenda doc, but it looks like there's some potential performance regressions possibly around installing packages, especially with a lot of resources. So I wanted to dig into that and see what folks knew about that one. Jesse, you're on the call. Do you want to give us a quick update on the signature validation work you've been doing? Jesse, can you hear us?
Can you hear me? All right, there we
Yes,
go.
I can hear you now, Jesse. Yes, I
Okay,
gotcha.
all right. Oh, my audio just switched on me like right as I was trying to talk. No movement recently. I actually did get some feedback on the one pager, which I kind of want to take stock of. Post KubeCon, I had a lot of other work on my plate, so I'm hoping to get back to this right after the holidays. If anyone is interested in helping to shape that one pager, I think that's probably the better place to continue the conversation. When I had last evaluated the body of work with Dan, the next steps that we were going to try to implement is changing the way that the pre-shared keys, that the PEMs are loaded. And that's something that's pretty trivial. So that'll probably be the first thing I tick off. But there is a more design discussion around how to move into policy evaluation, multiple keys rather than single keys, and also how to have the signatures evaluated on a per package basis rather than all or none.
Oh, right on, Jesse. That makes sense. So yeah, it looks like there's some discussion going on this one pager here as well. Do you so this PR here, this is the one pager for it, and this is like the implementation work that you had done essentially that ended up in your demo for KubeCon?
That's right. Exactly.
Got it. Awesome, man. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah,
do you mind if...
I think that we'll have a lot more. I will have a lot more capacity post Thanksgiving holiday, and so I'm not suggesting that this is going to be beyond Christmas or anything like that. I just in the next week or so, I'm probably going to be pretty limited, but after that, I'll open up.
Yeah, and that's all totally reasonable, Jesse. I'm grateful for your contributions that you're making on this and what you're bringing there. That's so. Thank you very much for doing that. Do you mind if I update this issue here to like within the description link to these like this one pager and the
absolutely. I believe that there is some cross linking in there, but it might not be very obvious. So go ahead and make any changes to that necessary.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Jesse. Yeah, I've noticed I really like how GitHub is very good about, oh, somebody made a comment on an issue here, so then it links them together, but when it puts it into like the timeline, it's a little bit harder to see. So I always go back and
put it right at the top,
make it super obvious at the top.
No problem.
I just
Thank you
right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, do this on another screen real quick. So here's the one pager. The implementation. All right, there we go. GitHub saving. All right, awesome. Yeah, thanks again, Jesse, for the update too.
No problem.
Okay, let's see. And then I think the other big thing to mention here for 1.11 timeframe is there very soon in the near future, there will be the initial design work. It will be starting on observe only resources in Crossplane. This has been how many thumbs up are on this one? I think this is a 71. Yes, so a lot of support for this one here. I know Jason was just asking about this as well too. So yeah, I think Hassan will be focusing on this mostly, I believe, but starting, I think, in the next couple of weeks, the design doc will be getting some attention. We'll be figuring out the experience. I think that this is, absolutely, this is a good example of something that we want to get the experience right. And so there will be, that initial upfront focus on the shape of the API, some of the nuances about how it would be consumed and stuff like that. So there will be opportunities for folks to weigh in with their opinions on it. And so the use cases here will be a big driver, right? Of what are you expecting to do with it, and the experience and the API that we're starting to shape here, does that fit for it? So a good point for collaboration coming up. And yeah, so we'll start with the design, and then we'll make progress after that one. So I'm not going to make a strict commitment here on timeline for any of that, but the design is starting soon, and let's collaborate on it. So that's good progress, and I know people are excited about that. I think that's the main stuff. So a lot going on in 1.11. Obviously, there's all the provider work as well, but in terms of core Crossplane, that's the main things that I know of with getting some traction now and getting attention. Is there anything else that folks wanted to bring up that also is going on in 1.11 or that you want attention on or anything like that.
Is composition functions in 1.11?
Yeah, so Jason, so the design doc was merged just yesterday, I think, and then there had been a lot of prototyping work as well on getting some of like the like isolation and security aspects and things of it done. So I am hopeful, yes, that the alpha implementation of it will be available 1.11 to take for a test spin and get like some early mileage on it. It will not be mature, it will not be for production ready, all that jazz, but I do expect there to be something in 1.11 for us to start using and getting feedback on.
Okay, thank you.
Right on. Okay. So that's everything for core Crossplane milestones and releases here. In the provider section, there's a whole bunch of recent releases since the last community meeting on the big three. Cloud provider releases are out there, AWS, GCP, and Azure. There is a new release of provider Terraform as well. Bob, do you want to speak to that one at all, by the way, since you're on the call?
I knew you were going to ask me that, and Yuri did that release, so I really am not all that familiar with what's in it. I know it's got, I think the primary thing that is in there is the ARM, support for ARM images. We were only, for some reason, we were only building AMD64. Oh, that's, the Terraform base image that we were using was only being provided on AMD64. And so now we're getting, that's what I was looking for. So yeah, there's a bunch of good stuff in there. There is one, I don't want to call it a regression. It's more of a thing that didn't work quite the way we wanted it to. That number 123, the Terraform provider plugin cache, is unfortunately the implementation didn't do exactly what we wanted to. So it's kind of a hit or miss plugin cache. So sometimes you get the cache and sometimes you don't. I found that yesterday when my provider Terraform pod went up to like 10 gig of memory. And obviously that was bad. So I've got a fix for that, and we're going to probably come out with a .1 maybe next week. And it's one of those things where it's not really necessarily any a regression, but it's just not something that worked quite as well as we wanted to. So
awesome. Thanks for getting those fixes in then, at least. And yeah, the full release notes are there. And yep, so glad to get that one out there. And then there is also a new provider, Ansible release as well. And I think there's some contents, like a blog post about this that kind of talks about how it's built, some of the architecture around it, the use cases, et cetera. So folks can read about that too, and it's linked further down in our content section that we'll get to. All right, if anybody else has recent provider releases that they want to add to the list here, feel free to do that, and I will accept those comments from folks adding those in. Okay, we'll keep on rolling here then. So going over some of the recent content here. Dan was on a recent, I think it was on Monday, so like 3 days ago, Containers on the Couch episode with the AWS folks. So where they talked about running Crossplane on Amazon on the EKS and some of the best practices there, and kind of introducing a lot of the AWS audience to to that capability. So it was definitely a good episode, got into a lot of good things, a lot of really good questions asked from the audience as well. So definitely good to catch up with that one. Here's that Ansible provider blog post that I was talking about. Some other great content Victor has been building out. So how to effectively use both Crossplane alongside of Kubevela for your application definitions. So good stuff there. This one's also from Victor about shifting left for stateful applications. So that's definitely interesting. I think Dan just had this blog post that came out like a couple hours ago. How Dan is getting into funny business with OCI image registries and stuff. So my other registry is a proxy. That's definitely an interesting engineering focused article there to read. Who knows what Dan will do next with registries? We'll have to see. So yeah, if folks have other, videos, blog posts, etc., please add those to the agenda list here and get some more visibility on those. All right, so the KubeCon treadmill continues. I think tomorrow night at midnight is for at the end of the week, Friday midnight is CFP for KubeCon EU will be closing. So about let's call it 36 hours or so left, 37 hours left in that. So always in support of folks making contributions there, and putting their talks forth. I am happy to review or give feedback on anyone's talks or abstracts, etc. If you want that. It doesn't have to be about Crossplane. I'm happy to just give some feedback either way. So I know Jesse's got an abstract that he's building out, so that's pretty exciting, I think, and getting some more insight into how Autodesk is doing stuff there and building their platform. And all the tools and everything, so really cool stuff there. But if other folks have proposals that they're planning on submitting, you can add them here. And you can ping me too if you want any reviews on that stuff. So that's the next KubeCon for Amsterdam, the last KubeCon for Detroit. As of a little bit earlier this week, all of the talks have now been published to YouTube. So all the awesome talks that folks were doing, a number of folks on this call were giving talks. Those are now up and available on YouTube. I couldn't figure out a way, maybe there's some YouTube tool or API or something to search within this playlist for Crossplane specific stuff. I didn't know how to do that. So here's the entire list for like all 200 videos of the Detroit KubeCon playlist. So those are available if anybody wants to check those out. Let's see. Okay, next item on the agenda is about the Crossplane.io website refresh. This is dragging on a little bit longer than I think we wanted to. We are going through a number of steps to move the DNS management over from the Linux Foundation's IT department managing it on our behalf to moving it to the management of Netlify that then Crossplane maintainers get access to, and we can kind of self-service our DNS. That's taking a little bit longer than we wanted to, a couple of hiccups with that. But along with that, there's a refresh of the Crossplane.io website content and styling, and the docs getting a nice makeover along with so not just styling, but like some functionality and ease of use things as well that Pete has been driving. I don't think Pete's on the call today, so I'll speak on his behalf. But yeah, that's been available and that's ready to go, I think, as soon as we get the DNS stuff moved over. So just a quick update on that. I don't know exactly when the DNS movements, migration stuff will be completed, but I would hope that sometime next week we'll be able to start going live with this stuff. I know Pete's been working really hard on it as well. So thanks for your efforts, Pete. Quick update to folks. I think a couple of folks on the call have already filled this out, but we are working towards graduation with the CNCF. And one thing that we really need for that is a better understanding of our adopters and who's using Crossplane and it's essentially endorsing it, right, to make a bigger and stronger case to the technical oversight committee that Crossplane is ready for graduation. So you can click on this link and check out that survey, and that data would be super helpful. So we'll definitely appreciate that. All right. So yeah, the next thing I wanted to talk about was that issue there about potential regression with installing packages. Let me see is Christopher or Dan. I know neither of them are on the call today. So I don't know if other folks have been paying attention to this issue. But if folks had some ideas about it or, further validation about this issue, seeing this issue as well, that would be very, very helpful to kind of track this down and get to the bottom of it. I think what Dan has kind of identified so far is that, in 1.10, we increased or enabled some parallelism to when we're parsing, we've pulled the package, we're getting all of the types out, we are, adding them to the API surface area, that we can start doing that in parallel. And so it looks like here that, that puts a more CPU memory, et cetera, load on the control plane when we're going through those in parallel, especially for big packages, right? So I think that we initially saw a like too high of a performance load on that. So we took steps to corrective action 1.10.1 to curtail that a bit. But now I think we're kind of running into the other side of the issue where, doing those in parallel, we can get those done fast, but we're kind of slowing it down so we don't use so much CPU. And it looks like there is something within that is making essentially not timing out before when the context deadline is exceeded. So I don't know exactly what to do to fix that, but I wanted to just get more, if folks had opinions on it or, validation of, yes, I'm seeing this too, then that would be helpful as we start getting traction on fixing this issue. And so here's a set of questions as well that if folks have, can add some of their observations to this issue here directly that could help Dan's investigation into it. All right, so that might be the rest of the agenda items. So I'll open it up then. Are there other things on the agenda that folks want to add that we didn't get to, things that folks want to talk about or get some eyes on? Floor is open now for anybody.
I have a quick question. On the promotion to Crossplane going GA, I've seen a lot of other projects go through a detailed security review. Is there an official engagement there around the same kind of like security scan and or like not necessarily bug bounty, but some kind of program where people could, proactively look at the security aspects of Crossplane to try to help get it over the line?
Yeah, definitely, Jason. Thanks for bringing that up. So that's actually something that I am very happy with that the CNCF provides for us, essentially. So as part of going to the graduation, milestone, the CNCF, at least they've done this every other time. I haven't had that full conversation yet, and they did it for the Rook project that we maintain as well. Is that they essentially finance a third-party security full audit and review. And they're super helpful and thorough, and then get into a lot of issues and give a lot of validation and recommendations and such. So that absolutely, I anticipate that to be part of the process here, probably early in Q1 for next year, that we'll be doing a full audit and review, as from a security standpoint.
Okay, that should be really interesting.
Yeah, and we've been doing like fuzz testing as well. That's something that CNCF was helping out with recently as well, with finding some potential issues from that perspective, was all giving a whole bunch of malformed input, et cetera, and making sure that that the code base can handle that as well. So there's a bit of a start on from that perspective having happened in the last quarter. All right. Anything else folks want to get into today, or should we go ahead and wrap it up then? All right. Cool. Well, good to see everybody. Glad, Bob, that you're starting to feel better as well too. And we'll talk on Slack and keep making progress on 1.11, and all really looking forward to all the cool features going on here. So thanks for everybody's contributions.
Thank you.
All right. Take care, everybody.
Thanks.
Bye.